What's up, guys? We are back with a full slate of MLB action here on Saturday, June 15th. Not a terrible Friday out there, guys, finishing things up 4-2 overall. We started the day off pretty hot with the Yankees minus 160 and Cleveland plus 115, both coming through. The Padres minus 115, man, that's why betting on the Padres sucks, guys. They could not put up any offense in that game. The Atlanta Braves minus 1.5, that pick was good as gold. The Twins let us down. They won by only one run in that game. We got a little bit greedy taking them minus 1.5, so we'll have to take that into account moving forward this season. Maybe we're getting a little bit too greedy with these minus 1.5s, but finished the day off strong with the Arizona Diamondbacks coming through with a comfortable win. So a 4-2 day overall, not too much wrong with that. We're going to try and keep things rolling here heading into a big Saturday slate. First, do me a big favor, guys, and hit that like button. It's a great way to show some support for the channel and all the work we're putting in here every single day. If you're new, go ahead and subscribe. It's 100% free. It can keep you from missing out on these picks. Our videos are sponsored by StumpTheSpread.com. Click the link in the description and go over there and join our free email list and check out our top confidence plays on all the major sports. Comment below with all the bets you're looking at today and we'll give you our best advice on all of them. We respond to absolutely every single comment, so let us know anything you want to say about my picks, these videos, or anything you see here. As always, our final picks will be in the pinned comment down below. Now let's get into our first game of the day. We've got the Oakland A's taking on the Minnesota Twins. The A's come into this game not having a great time lately. They've lost their last 7 in a row. They lost 6-5 there in game 2 of this series, so they kept things pretty competitive there. Nothing wrong with that for a team like this, I suppose, but yeah, not exactly the result you're after. They're handing the ball in this game to Joey Estes, who's 2-2 on the season with a 4.78 ERA. He's coming off of a kind of weird start there at the San Diego Padres, where he went 5 innings, gave up 8 hits and 3 earned runs. He'd been looking pretty good in his 2 starts before that, a good start against the Mariners and a good start against the Tampa Bay Rays, but not like those are really offensive powerhouse style teams, so, you know, gotta look at those with a little bit of skepticism. He's been decent this season, but not great, and the Oakland A's bullpen has been one of their many problems this season. They're 27th in the majors with a 4.27 bullpen ERA. When your bullpen ERA starts with a 4, guys, that is a sign things are getting pretty dark. This is also not a very good offensive day. Scoring 5 runs and still losing is tough for them because they don't score 5 runs all that often. They're 28th in the majors in runs scored, 29th in the majors with a team batting average of only 220. Yeah, guys, just not a very good offensive team. They're only getting on base at a 290 clip. Like, this team struggles at the plate pretty aggressively. They're going to have to find a way to put up some runs here against the Minnesota Twins, who come into this game winners of their last 3 in a row. They're 38-32 on the season, handing the ball in this game to Bailey Ober, who's 5-4 on the year with a 5.13 ERA. He's coming off of a mediocre start there against the Pittsburgh Pirates, guys. He went 4 2/3 innings, gave up 7 hits and 4 earned runs. He's given up 4, 3, and 6 earned runs over his last 3 starts. I mean, those were starts against the Kansas City Royals, the Yankees, and the Pirates. So, yeah, the Pirates not the best offensive team. Obviously, if you're going to have some trouble against the Yankees and the Kansas City Royals, we'll cut you a little bit of slack for that. But in general, this guy has not been great this season. He is going up against a pretty weak hitting opponent, so maybe this is something of a bounce back spot for him. But they have to be hoping he'll go relatively deep into the game because the Twins bullpen, not very good, guys. A 4.20 bullpen ERA is not a great situation, so not too high on their bullpen. Their offense has been putting up some runs, guys. They've scored 6, 6, and 17 runs over their last 3 games, so that's all very respectable stuff. They're sitting in 10th in the majors in runs scored, 17th in the majors in batting average, 10th in the majors in slugging percentage, so a pretty decent slugging percentage team, all things considered. But is this an offense that we're super crazy high on? I have my reservations about them. I mean, sure, they're hitting the ball well right now, like no doubt about that, but maybe we've been getting a little bit too ambitious here, taking the Twins minus 1.5 a bunch. We'll just have to see. Looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we see the Twins are huge favorites once again. They're minus 196. The A's are plus 170. We've got an over-under in this game of 8. We see Oakland is only 11-26 on the road, so there's a big part of the reason there for that big favorite number for the Twins. Minnesota is 20-14 at home, so that's respectable. Yeah, guys, I'm not too interested in the Twins minus 196, so we're back once again in a situation where we'd have to be looking at taking them minus 1.5. I don't think this is a terrible spot to do that, but I won't be putting that in the pinned comment on back-to-back days. They didn't fill me with a ton of optimism in their last outing. I don't think Estes is terrible. I don't think Bailey Ober is great, so guys, give me the Minnesota Twins minus 1.5 as a very small lean in this game, but yeah, this is not going in the pinned comment. Next up, guys, we're looking at the St. Louis Cardinals going on the road to take on the Chicago Cubs. The Cardinals come into this game fresh off of a 3-0 shutout win in Game 1 of this series. They are now 34-34 on the year. They're 5.5 games back of the Brewers in the NL Central, so they're technically, officially all alone in second place there. They're hitting the ball in this game to Andre Pallante. He has yet to figure in a result this season. He's sporting a 4.88 ERA. Coming off of his best start of the year, he looked very good against the Colorado Rockies. He went 5 innings, gave up 3 hits and no runs, so a very solid outing there. there. He did struggle on the road at Houston the start before that, but in his first start of the season at Cincinnati back on the 29th of last month, he shut them out over 6 innings, giving up only 3 hits. So the guy has shown pretty good stuff this year in general. I mean, he looked serviceable coming out of the bullpen with a few hiccups. Like, he's a pretty young guy, only 25 years old, but he's got great stuff out there. So I think we can expect him to have a pretty solid start here going up against the Chicago Cubs. What we can't really necessarily count on is the Cardinals bullpen. A 3.94 bullpen ERA is very concerning. We'll have to see how they do in this game. I mean, obviously they looked good yesterday, but I have my question marks about this bullpen. I also have my question marks about this offense. They've scored 3, 4, and 4 runs over their last 3 games, all of which have been wins. I mean, so I guess we can keep that in mind, but yeah, just not a team that you can count on to put up a ton of runs. We do see Mason Wynn is batting .301, so that's nice. Nolan Gorman's doing his best to carry as much of the load as he can, but he's only batting .211 on the season. This team is 27th in the majors in runs scored, 20th in the majors in slugging percentage. They're only getting on base at a .306 clip. Like, none of these things are really inspiring me to think this is a squad that's going to be able to score a bunch of runs. They're going up against the Chicago Cubs, who have been having a hard time doing pretty much everything lately. They're down to 33 and 37 on the year. They're handing the ball to their ace in this game. Shota Imanaga is taking the mound. He's 6-1 with a 1.96 ERA. He's coming off of a kind of mediocre start by his standards against the Cincinnati Reds, but it was a much-needed bounce back from back-to-back struggle-type outings where he had a hard time at Milwaukee and then at home against the Chicago White Sox in a very weird game. So definitely nice to see him getting kind of back on track there against the Reds. We do see the struggling Cubs are 3-2 over his last 5 starts, so that's something to take into consideration. It seems like he's healthy. It seems like he's getting back to like where he was at in the early going, so feel very good about Imanaga out there on the mound. In general, guys, the Cubs bullpen, not among the best. A 3.91 bullpen ERA is not fantastic. Kind of in the same type of category there with the Cardinals. Neither one of these teams have fantastic bullpens, but also right there with the Cardinals, guys, the Cubs are not hitting the ball right now. We see Chicago scored 0, 2, 4, and 2 runs over their last 4 games. That's pretty weak stuff. They are 17th in the majors in runs scored, down to 26th in the majors, batting only .228 as a team. Their slugging percentage numbers are very, very weak as well. Just not a lot of great hitting going on there for the Chicago Cubs, or really in this series so far. Looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we see the Cardinals at +155, the Cubs at -166, and we see an over-under of 8 in this game. Guys, I'm not too interested in the side in this one. I don't trust either offense enough to score any runs, but you know what that means? That means we are leaning towards the under. We see the Cardinals are 37, 28, and 3 to the under. That's a significant trend for sure. The Cubs are 37, 30, and 3 to the under. That's a borderline significant trend. And yeah, in general, guys, I really like the under in this game. I think we're going to see offense be at an ultra premium. Not going to be a lot of scoring going on here with one very, very solid starting pitcher out there on the mound and one young guy who's been looking very good. So give me the under in this game. No offense coming from this one. Moving right along here, guys, we got the Miami Marlins going on the road to take on the Washington Nationals. The Marlins come into this game fresh off of a loss there in game 1. They lost 8-1. They've now lost 3 games in a row. They are 23 and 46 on the season, so obviously not having a very good time. They're handing the ball in this one to Trevor Rogers. He's 1-7 this year with a 5.37 ERA. He is coming off of a good start there against Cleveland. He went 5 innings, gave up 2 hits and only a single earned run, but that was a bounce back after getting knocked around a little bit by the Texas Rangers. So yeah, not a lot of great things to say about Trevor Rogers. I mean, he's trying to put some positive outings together, but he's a young guy. He's pitching for the Marlins. Like, not a lot of great things can be expected from him. I mean, we do see the Marlins are 1-4 over his last 5 starts, so that's not great. The Marlins bullpen in general, guys, is a little bit better than you would expect. A 3.52 bullpen ERA is not terrible, but also this isn't really a bullpen that I'm necessarily like scared of. They can definitely give up some runs, and this offense is definitely not an offense that I'm scared of. They've scored 1, 2, and 4 runs over their last 3 games. They are 29th in the majors in on-base percentage and 29th in the majors in terms of runs scored. This is just not a good offensive team, guys. Their slugging percentage is also terrible. Like, this is just not a team you can trust to hit for average or power or anything. Like, not a good hitting team, and they're gonna have to score some runs here going up against the Washington Nationals, who are coming off of another win. They've now won 6 out of their last 7 games, which is pretty impressive stuff. They're up to 33 and 36 on the year, and they're handing the ball in this game to DJ Hers. He is going to be making his 3rd start of the season. His 2nd start was definitely better than his first one. His first one, he got knocked around by the Mets, but his 2nd start, he did only go 4 1/3 innings. He gave up 2 earned runs on 4 hits against the Atlanta Braves, so a pretty solid opponent there for him to have a relatively decent outing against, so we'll give him a little bit of credit for that. The Nationals bullpen is definitely something of a concern for us, guys. I mean, a 3.94 bullpen ERA is not fantastic. fantastic, but it's not quite the end of the world. And the Nationals bats seem like they're warming up a little bit. I mean, they've scored 8, 2, 7, 5, and 8 runs over their last few games. That's very respectable. They're up to 23rd in the majors in runs scored. They're up to 23rd in the majors also in batting average. They're getting on base at a 304 clip, which obviously isn't amazing, but isn't as terrible as their on-base percentage and some of their other offensive numbers have been at different points this season. So definitely feel like things are looking up a little bit for the Washington Nationals. And it's kind of interesting, guys. You can get them at a very reasonable price in this game. I think that's kind of an indictment here of DJ Hers. You can get the Nationals at -116, the Marlins at +102. We've got over-unders in this game of 9 and 8.5. We see some mixed trends towards the over-under for these two teams, so we're not super interested in that. Miami is only 11 and 21 on the road, but Washington is only 14 and 17 at home, so that's not a huge, advantage there for them. So in general, guys, I'm looking towards the Nationals -116 in this game. Will this end up in the pinned comment, though? I don't think so. Not enough faith here for me in DJ Hers. So slight lean on the Nationals, but no pinned comment. Next on the docket, guys, we're looking at the Philadelphia Phillies going on the road to take on the Baltimore Orioles. The Phillies come into this game fresh off of a 5-3 win in Game 1. They're 47 and 22 on the year. Handing the ball in this game to Taijuan Walker. He's 3-1 this season with a 5.40 ERA. His last start was one of his best starts recently, guys. He went 5 2/3 innings, gave up 2 earned runs on 2 hits against the New York Mets. He has not been facing really a murderer's row of opponents, but we see that the Philadelphia Phillies, one of the best teams in baseball, is only 1-4 over his last 5 starts. Yeah, not a great feeling there. Not a starter that you can be super stoked to be running out there if you're the Phillies. And the Phillies bullpen has been good, guys. It's a top 10 bullpen. I mean, a 3.55 ERA coming out of your pen is nothing to turn your nose up at. It's also not really in that super elite tier. So, have a few question marks about the bullpen. Their offense, though, we do not have question marks about. They just scored 5 runs in Game 1 of this series. They scored 5, 3, 6, and 4 runs over the last few games, respectively. So maybe not absolutely killing the ball right now, but they are still 4th in the majors in runs scored, 6th in the majors, batting .254 as a team. They're the 6th best slugging percentage team in the majors. This is an offense that can find a way to generate some runs. Are they going to be missing Real Muto? Yeah, I think they are. That's definitely a concern for me, but I think they'll figure out a way here. I mean, neither one of their backup catchers is looking super hot here in the early goings of their getting moved into the starting role. So we'll see who they end up sticking with primarily, but right now things just are not looking very good from that position, and they're going to have to find a way to put up some runs here against the Baltimore Orioles, who come into this game fresh off a loss. That's unfortunate, but they are 45 and 24 on the season, and they're handing the ball in this game to Grayson Rodriguez, who's 7-2 on the year with a 3.27 ERA. He's coming off of a very good start there against Tampa Bay Rays. He went 5 2/3 innings. He had only 2 hits and 2 earned runs, so maybe a little bit unlucky to even give up 2 earned runs in that game. The start before that, he was very good against the Toronto Blue Jays, giving up only a single earned run. Start before that, he did strike out 10 against the Red Sox, but maybe didn't look amazing out there, giving up 4 earned runs. But in general, he's looked very good lately, good enough to take on the Phillies offense. Maybe some question marks about that from me, but we'll just have to see what they actually get from him in this start. The Orioles bullpen has been very, very good, a notch better than the Phillies, I would say, but maybe not, an ultra dominant land. But I mean, a 3.31 bullpen ERA is nothing to turn your nose up at. That is a very, very good bullpen. So it might come down to how many runs the Orioles can score here in this game. I mean, they're 45 and 24 on the year for a reason. They are 3rd in the majors in runs scored, 10th in the majors in batting average, but they are in 1st place in slugging percentage, guys. This team has been in 1st place in slugging percentage the vast majority of the season. They know how to hit the long ball. It's pretty impressive stuff. They have lost 2 games in a row, only scoring 3 runs in each of those games. So I would say this offense is poised for something of a breakout game here. And looking at the numbers for this one, we see that the odds makers agree with us. We got the Phillies at +150. We see the Orioles at -172. We got an over/under of 8.5 in this game. So you could definitely talk me into taking a look at that over. The Phillies are 19 and 12 on the road, which is good, but Baltimore is 23 and 14 at home, which is also very respectable. Guys, in general in this game, I'm leaning towards the Orioles -172 at home. I do think we'll see Taijuan Walker have some trouble out there. I do think we're going to see the Phillies continue to struggle a little bit on offense, and if we get a good pitching day here from Grayson Rodriguez, things could definitely slant pretty aggressively towards the Orioles, but that -172 price tag is probably too expensive for this game to end up in the pinned comment for me. Moving right along, guys, we've got the Cincinnati Reds going to Milwaukee to take on the Brewers in an NL Central showdown. The Reds come into this game fresh off of a 6-5 win there in Game 1. They got the win against Peralta, so that has to feel pretty good. They are now 1-0 in this series. They've won their last 2 games in a row. 34 and 35 on the year isn't maybe exactly what they had in mind after getting off to a hot start. They're handing the ball in this game to Andrew Abbott, who's 5 and 5 this season with a 3.28 ERA, coming into this game fresh off of a very solid start there against the Chicago Cubs, where he gave only a single earned run over 5 innings. He did walk 4 in that start, so that's not great. He hasn't really had control issues in general this season. He's looked good in, we'll say, 4 out of his last 5 starts, with the really only major struggle start coming against the St. Louis Cardinals, weirdly enough. That's definitely a bit odd. The Reds' bullpen will have to come in to take over from him, looking like fifth or sixth inning seems pretty likely. And the Reds bullpen's been better than you would think, honestly, guys. I mean, a 3.86 bullpen ERA for a team that has to spend half of their games pitching in the Great American Ballpark is fairly respectable. The question for this team, generally speaking, and definitely in this game, at least for me, is are they going to be able to put up any offense? They have scored 6 and 4 runs over their last 2 games, but before that they scored 3, 2, and 4, so not a team that's necessarily swinging the hottest bats, not the coldest though, for how the places this team has been offensively this season has been pretty dark, so they're heading in a positive direction on offense, I believe. I mean, their team batting average is still way down there with the worst teams in the majors, but they are up to 13th in the majors in runs scored. Their slugging percentage numbers are getting a little bit better. They're getting on base at a 307 clip, which isn't awful, so I think we can see some light at the end of the tunnel here for the Reds offense. They're going to have to score some runs here, going up against the Milwaukee Brewers, who come into this game fresh off of that Game 1 loss. They're 40 and 29 on the year, leading the NL Central by 5.5 games. They're handing the ball in this one to Bryce Wilson, who's 3 and 3 this season with a 4.19 ERA. He's coming off of getting absolutely just shelled by the Detroit Tigers. He gave up 7 earned runs in 4 1/3 innings. Not a very good outing there. His start before that, he looked serviceable against the Phillies. Start before that, he had a hard time against the Cubs, but in a game that we did see the Brewers win, so got to take some of these things with a little bit of a grain of salt. The Brewers bullpen, pretty decent. A 3.77 bullpen ERA is not terrible. Definitely slightly above average in the majors. This team can hit the ball for sure. They haven't really been hitting the cover off it lately. I mean, 5, 5, and 0 runs over their last 3. Not exactly, on a tear. They're 7th in the majors in runs scored and 4th in the majors in batting average for a reason, though. This is a good offensive team, guys. The question is, will they be able to get to Andrew Abbott here? I have my questions about that for sure. We see Abbott has not had a start against the Brewers yet this season, so that's a little bit unfortunate. Would have been nice to get a little bit of extra info there, but in general, guys, looking at the numbers for this game, we see the Reds at plus 114, the Brewers at minus 124. We got an over-under in this game of 8.5. We see the Reds are a 500 team on the road, which, 500 on the road, that's not terrible. Milwaukee is 20 and 12 at home, though, and they're also a kind of significant over team, guys. They are 38, 27, and 4 to the over. So if you wanted to take a little look at the over in this game, I definitely see some offense happening, especially from the Brewers side. Do I see a ton of offense happening from the Reds side? That's always a bit sketch. Guys, I feel like this is a really close game in general. I don't really love either side. I don't honestly really love the over-under. If you're forcing me to bet this game, I guess give me the Brewers minus 124 at home, since they're at home and they're a good home team. But yeah, in general, guys, not a spot that I think there's a ton of value in. Next up, guys, we're looking at the Detroit Tigers going on the road to take on the Houston Astros. The Tigers come into this game fresh off of a 4-0 loss in Game 1 of this series. They're handing the ball in this one to Jack Flaherty, who's 3 and 4 this season with a 3.22 ERA. His last start was back on the 4th, so he's missed a little bit of time here, but he looked very good his last time out, dominated the Texas Rangers. He went 5 innings, gave only 2 hits, and struck out 4. He actually had looked very good over his last 5 starts. We saw the Tigers go 3 and 2 over those starts, with, the 2 losses there not really being Flaherty's fault. He's looking pretty good out there, and as long as he's healthy, we can expect good things from him. The Tigers bullpen overall, guys, hasn't been too bad. They're right around league average, so that's not a nightmare. A 3.84 bullpen ERA, not a disaster, but also not like a bullpen that you're stoked to hand the ball to. And this offense has been having some problems, guys. They've scored 0, 7, 5, and 4 runs over their last 4 games. They've happened upon kind of some tough times lately to fall to 33 and 36 on the year. Their team batting average is hovering around 230. That's obviously not fantastic. They're getting on base at an under 300 clip, which is pretty bad. This is just not an offense you can trust to put up a lot of runs, guys. It's been a big problem all season long. It continues to be an issue. Just not a fantastic offense. Nobody that they're running up there is really too scary at the plate. just not a ton of positive things to say about this offense. And they're taking on the Houston Astros, a team that should be much better offensively than it always feels like they are. They're sitting at 32 and 38 on the year, 8 games back of the Seattle Mariners there in the AL West. They're handing the ball in this one to Justin Verlander, who's 3-2 this season with a 3.95 ERA. He's coming off of back-to-back starts where he's given up 4 earned runs on 7 hits over 5 innings. I mean, against the Angels, at least he didn't give up 3 home runs like he did against the Cardinals. But Verlander, man, yeah, it's just things. It's kind of sad to see someone who was once so elite, so dominant, having a hard time out there against teams like the Cardinals and the Angels. So the question is, how is he going to do here against the Detroit Tigers? To be honest, guys, I don't have a crazy amount of optimism, and if he doesn't do well and go deep into the game, then you're handing it over to the Astros bullpen, which is sporting a 4.13 bullpen ERA, which is terrible. And if both the starting pitcher and the bullpen do terrible, you're really counting on the offense to put up some crazy amount of runs. And yeah, that's not what we've seen from the Astros lately or just in general this season. They've scored 4, 3, 3, 3 and 7 runs over their last few games. Like, cool, that 7-run game against the Angels is nice, but it came in a loss. Like, this is a team that continuously puts up great stats, but then just does not deliver. Doesn't get runs across the plate. It's pretty wild stuff. They're batting .259 as a squad. That's second in the majors. They're getting on base at a .320 clip. That's 7th in the majors. They're the 4th best slugging percentage team in the MLB, guys, but they're only 12th in runs scored. They just don't put up a ton of runs. They're going against a strikeout pitcher in this game, so it'll be interesting to see what they do here. Looking at the numbers, we see the Tigers at +120, the Astros at -135. We've got an over-under of 7.5 in this game. We see some wildly differing trends in terms of the over-under, guys. Detroit is the best MLB team to the over. They're 39, 27, and 3 to the over. Houston is the best MLB team to the under. They are 42, 25, and 3 to the under this year. So pretty weird stuff. Both of these teams are exactly 500 on the road and at home, respectively. So not a ton to go on there. In general, guys, I'm going to lean towards the Tigers getting +120 in this game. I don't have a great read on this one. I mean, what are we going to get out of Verlander? Do we really know? I don't think so. What are we going to get out of Flaherty? I don't really know. Like, this is just a weird spot. Give me the plus money, I suppose, but I'm staying far away from this one. Next on the docket, guys, we got the San Diego Padres. They're going on the road to take on the New York Mets. The Padres let us down in game 1 of the series, losing 2-1. Wasted a great start there. Just, yeah, couldn't get anybody across the plate. Only 1 run in the game against the Mets in New York is pretty embarrassing stuff. They're handing the ball in this game to Adam Mauser. He is 0-1 this season with a 9.00 ERA. He had a good start to open his season back on the 4th, going 6 innings, giving up 2 hits and a single earned run against the Angels. But he backed that up by getting absolutely just shelled by the Arizona Diamondbacks, guys. He went 3 innings, he gave 8 hits and 8 earned runs. Not a good start. He struggled with his control in both of his starts this year, so I've got some questions about this young guy out there on the mound. He's only 23 years old. Can we expect consistency from a 23-year-old? Absolutely no, we cannot. Can we expect consistency from the San Diego Padres bullpen? Well, guys, if you mean, to be consistently pretty mid, I guess we get that out of them. I mean, a 3.88 bullpen ERA is just below average, so not a disaster, but also not great. And this offense, man, just so annoyingly inconsistent. Random days where they're just terrible. They're the best team in the majors in terms of batting average, guys, batting .262 as a team, but I mean, that doesn't do you any good if you're going to have games against the Mets where you score 1 run. So not super high on this offense, despite the fact they've been finding some success lately. I mean, they've scored 1, 5, 4, and 6 runs over their last 4 games. So what are we going to do? Are we going to be wanting to take the Padres again? Obviously, I'm not going to be wanting to, but you never know what you're going to have to do. They're going up against the New York Mets, who have now won 3 straight. They're 31 and 37 on the year, handing the ball in this one to Jose Quintana. He's 1-5 this season with a 5.29 ERA. He's just made his 4th straight start where he's given up exactly 3 earned runs. And when you look at the fact that he's gone against Cleveland, the Dodgers, the Diamondbacks, and the Phillies over those starts, that's not too terrible. He has not been going deep into games, though. I mean, his start against the Phillies, he went 3 2/3 innings, gave up 6 hits and 3 earned runs. Yeah, I want to cut pitchers slack against the Phillies, but that's not that great, guys. That's just not that amazing. So looks like we're going to see some definite work coming from the Mets bullpen, and that's a problem because they're sporting a bullpen ERA of 4.21. So that's not great. That's definitely a concern. So we're going to be looking for the Mets to put up some offensive numbers, and they've scored a grand total of 5 runs over their last 2 games. That's not great. They did have that 10-4 win over the Marlins, so I guess give them some props there. And they've been playing better as of late, guys. There's no way around it, but this offense doesn't really get me going. I mean, they're pretty middle of the road if you ask me. 13th in runs scored, 15th in slugging percentage, 14th in batting average. We do see Starling Marte as a pretty solid hitter, but other than that, not a ton of guys that I'm scared of up there. So looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we see another tough one. We see the Padres at plus 102, the Mets at minus 115. We've got an over-under of 8.5. Just in general, guys, I do not trust Mauser out there on the mound, even going up against a team like the Mets, but he does have one solid start on his resume this year, so that's something. Quintana has been pitching well against some pretty elite offensive competition, so I think there's a chance he could have a very good day against the Padres, but there's also a chance the Padres bats could come alive and they could put up a ton of runs. The Mets are only 16-22 at home. The Padres are 18-15 on the road. Guys, give me the Padres plus 102 as the smallest of small leans. We're banking on Mauser having a good outing, and we're also banking on the freaking Padres bats coming alive. But in general, if you wanted to pass on this game, it would totally make sense to me. Kind of hate the Padres right now myself, to be honest. Next on the docket, guys, we got the Tampa Bay Rays going on the road to take on the Atlanta Braves. We saw Tampa Bay take the 7-3 loss in Game 1 of this series. We were on Atlanta minus 1.5, so thank you, Chris Sale and the Atlanta Braves for making that one happen. The Rays are down to 33-37 on the year. They've lost 2 out of their last 3. They're handing the ball in this game to Ryan Pepio, who's 4-3 this year with a 4.17 ERA, but coming off a pretty rocky start there against the Baltimore Orioles. I mean, it was against the Baltimore Orioles, so we'll cut him some slack, but yeah, not amazing stuff. I mean, 6 innings, 9 hits, 4 earned runs. He gave 2 home runs in that game. He did strike out 9, so like there's some positives mixed in there with the negatives, but you know, not crazy dominant stuff. And the Tampa Bay Rays bullpen, not one of the best in the majors, guys, but they do have times when they get the job done. So, you know, maybe not a disaster bullpen. Looking at the Rays offensive production, guys, they've scored 3, 3, 3, and 5 runs over their last 4 games. So not exactly swinging the hottest bats, not a team you can trust to put up a ton of numbers. There's a reason they're 25th in the majors in runs scored. They're 29th in the majors in slugging percentage. Not a very good power team at all. They're getting on base at a 305 clip, so I guess that's something, but not something great necessarily. They're going to have to find a way to put up some runs here against the Atlanta Braves, who have scored 13 runs over their last 2 games. They're 37-30 on the year, handing the ball in this game to Charlie Morton, who's 3-3 this season with a 4.12 ERA. He's coming off a kind of rocky start there at Washington, where he went 5 innings, gave 7 hits and 4 earned runs. His start before that was a dominant one against the Oakland A's, though, guys. So kind of just seems like he struggles against the Nationals somehow. I mean, over his last 2 starts against them, he's given up a total of 12 earned runs over only 10 2/3 innings. So he's had a hard time with the Nationals, but other than that, he's looked pretty good lately. So, you know, we're going to give him a little bit of credit here going up against the Tampa Bay Rays team that's not the strongest hitting. So we're likely to see a heavy dose here of the Braves bullpen, which is slightly above average. I mean, a 3.68 bullpen ERA is nothing terrible. The question is, can the Atlanta Braves bats keep looking so good? We saw Ozuna look good, Riley look good. I mean, this team should be pretty decent at the plate, but they're all the way down to 19th in runs scored, 17th in on-base percentage. Over the last couple games, it seemed like they're kind of getting back on track, so we can definitely look at them as swinging some relatively hot bats. And if we look at the numbers for this game, guys, we see the Rays at plus 135 with Pepio on the mound. That kind of makes some sense to me. We see the Braves at minus 155, and we've got an over-under in this game of 9. Tampa Bay is only 14-14 on the road. We see Atlanta is 20-12 at home, which is pretty respectable. The question for me is, what are we going to get out of Charlie Morton and the Atlanta offense? I don't know, guys. It seems like kind of a big ask for them to score a bunch of runs here against Pepio. We do have an over-under of 9 in this game, and it's very intriguing to look at the under in this one. I mean, the Braves are 39, 25, and 3 to the under this year, and 9 is a pretty big number. Neither one of these teams are terrible in the bullpen, and neither team is putting out a very bad starting pitcher. We are a little bit worried about the Braves having some hot bats in this one, but I think we're looking at under 9 as the best value on this game, and I think it's good enough value that this has a significant chance to end up in the pinned comment. Moving into the home stretch here, guys, we've got the New York Yankees going on the road to take on the Boston Red Sox. The Yankees came through for us with an 8-1 win there in Game 1 of this series. They're up to 50-22 on the year. They're handing the ball in this game to Carlos Rodon. He is off to a fantastic start. The guy is 9-2 with a 2.93 ERA. Absolutely dealing out there. His last start was at Kansas City. Not the easiest place to pitch, guys. He went 7 innings, gave up 5 hits, only a single earned run. His start for that against the Twins was very, very good. We see the Yankees are 5-0 over his last 5 starts, winning each one of those games by at least 2, if not more, runs. He has just looked fantastic out there, and he's backed up by the absolutely elite Yankees bullpen. It's been the best bullpen in the majors all season long, so not a lot of questions about that. We have not yet forgotten that blown save they had the other day that cost us, but hey, this has been a very, very good pitching staff all year long. Rodon's looking good, bullpen's looking good, and the hitters are following suit. They're looking very, very good as well. They scored 8 runs in game 1 of this series. They're looking like the best offense in the majors to me, guys, and that's backed up by a lot of stats. I mean, they're first in the majors in runs scored, second in the majors in slugging percentage. They're batting over 250 as a team. They're getting on base at a 333 clip. Juan Soto looks fine coming back. No real problems for this team, guys. We see Garrett Cole is about to come back. He's dominating down there in AAA, working his way back to Major League form, and I think he's right there. I think it won't be long at all till we see him back in this rotation. That's going to make this team just even crazier better in the pitching rotation. Like, just crazy how good the Yankees are right now. They're taking on their rivals, the Boston Red Sox, who didn't look good in game 1 of this series. They're 35-35 on the year. They're handing the ball in this game to Cooper Criswell, who's 3-3 this season with a 4.13 ERA. He's coming off a bad start there against the Chicago White Sox. He's actually had a couple of weird starts over his last 5. He had a tough outing against the Orioles. That makes sense, but a tough outing against the Tampa Bay Rays doesn't make a ton of sense. He hasn't looked dominant this year in general, and in terms of their bullpen, yeah, guys, the Red Sox bullpen hasn't been terrible. It's not as good as the Yankees, but a 3.68 bullpen ERA, while above average, does leave a little bit to be desired, and the bats definitely leave something to be desired. I mean, they looked good there against the banged-up Phillies, but didn't look good in game 1 of this series against an elite starter, and they've got to take on another elite starter in this one. We do see Boston is top 10 in the majors in runs scored. They're also 8th in the majors in batting average, but yeah, guys, I don't know. It seems like a big ask for this Boston team to have a big hitting day against Rodon, and overall, looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we see that the odds makers agree with us. We've got the Yankees minus 162, the Red Sox plus 145. We've got an over-under in this game of 9. The Yankees are an MLB best 28-12 on the road, which is very impressive. We see these two teams showing slight trends towards the under. We also see Boston is only 16-20 playing at home this year. Looking at the run line for this game, we see if we take the Yankees minus 1.5, you can get them down to minus 105. Yeah, guys, that is very, very appealing to me. I think this is another great spot for the Yankees. I think they're more than happy to pile on against their rivals here. Give me the Yankees minus 1.5 in this game. I think they come through with another very convincing win. Next up, guys, we got the Texas Rangers. They're going on the road to take on the Seattle Mariners. They lost in game 1 of this series 3-2. They're down to 33-36 on the season. They're handing the ball in this game to Nathan Eovaldi. He is 3-2 this year with a 2.68 ERA. Not having a terrible time, and he did not have a terrible time his last time out, guys. Going up against the Giants, he went 7 innings, gave up 2 earned runs on 5 hits. He did give up a home run in that game, but guys, he's looked very solid over his last 5 starts in general. I mean, he hasn't given up more than 2 earned runs in any of those starts. He's only given up 2 home runs over those 5 starts. He hasn't necessarily been facing a murderer's row. I would say the 2 best offensive teams he faced during that stretch were the Diamondbacks and the Giants, but we do see that the Rangers are 4-1 over those 5 starts, so he's been looking pretty great out there, and the Seattle Mariners, not exactly an offensive powerhouse, so we're expecting big things from him. What can we expect from the Rangers bullpen? Well, they're sporting a bullpen ERA of 3.92, so don't exactly expect miracles from them, but going up against the Mariners, maybe that's a good enough bullpen to get the job done, at least, kind of generally speaking. The Rangers bats haven't looked amazing lately. I mean, they've scored 2, 3, 3, and 2 runs over their last 4 games, so that's some pretty weak offensive production. They're down to 15th in the majors in runs scored, 18th in the majors in slugging percentage. Not a great batting average or on-base percentage team. We see Josh Smith leading the way for them with a 294 batting average, so that's great and all, but is he good enough to carry this offense to wins? That doesn't really seem to be the case. So they're going to need to find a way to manufacture some runs here going up against the Mariners, who have now won 5 of their last 6 overall. Got up to a good start in this series. They're up to 41-31 on the season. They've got a 6.5 game lead over the Rangers there in the AL West. They're handing the ball in this game to George Kirby, who's 5-5 this year with a 3.81 ERA, coming off of a very good start there. In one of the toughest environments in baseball, he looked great against the Kansas City Royals. He went 7 innings, gave up 5 hits, only a single earned run. He walked no one in that game and struck out 4. The start before that, he looked very, very good against the Oakland A's. He's looked great over his last 3 starts, guys. Just in general, looking very, very good out there. And the Seattle Mariners bullpen is also solid. No surprise there. They're one of the best pitching teams overall in baseball this year. And guys, they've kind of needed to be, because their offense, nothing to write home about. I mean, over the last few games, they've scored 3, 2, 2, 4, and 8 runs respectively. not putting up a ton of offense. They're 24th in the majors in runs scored, 27th in the majors in on base percentage, getting on base at a 298 clip, and they're going up against a fairly hot, or not fairly hot, a very hot pitcher in this game. So definitely have our concerns about what the Mariners can produce at the plate. And looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we see it's fairly close. We've got the Rangers at plus 115, the Mariners at minus 126. We have an over-under in this game of 7, which is pretty interesting. We see the Rangers are only 17 and 18 on the road, so that's not fantastic. But Seattle is 24 and 12 at home, which is very solid. What we're more interested in this game, guys, is the over-under. I know it's only an over-under of 7, but we see Texas is 41, 25, and 2 to the under. We see Seattle is 41, 27, and 3 to the under. We see both offenses are having a terrible time. We see both pitchers are looking very good right now. Guys, I know it's a tiny number, but give me under 7 in this game. I think we're going to see very, very little offense like you see in most Seattle Mariners games and kind of most Texas Rangers games at this point. So give me the under in this game. I think it is fantastic value. Next on the docket, guys, we got the Kansas City Royals going on the road to take on the LA Dodgers. The Royals come into this game fresh off a 4-3 loss in Game 1 of this series. They're actually having kind of a tough time. They are playing through some tough schedule, but having kind of a tough time here lately. They've lost 5 out of their last 6 games. They're down to 40 and 31 on the year. They're hitting the ball in this one to Seth Lugo, hoping he can stop the bleeding. He's 9-2 this season with a 2.36 ERA. It's coming off back-to-back tough starts, though, guys. I mean, they were against the Cleveland Guardians and the Yankees, but man, you would have had to hope for a little bit better of showings there by Lugo. If you were a Royals fan, giving up 8 hits and 4 earned runs to the Yankees is not a disaster, but, you know, giving up 5 earned runs and 6 hits in 6 innings to the Cleveland Guardians, not great. So definitely Royals going to be hoping for a bounce back from him. Their bullpen in general, guys, has been right there around league average. So, you know, not a disaster, but not great. Can they trust them to shut down the Dodgers after Lugo comes out of this game? Seems like a big ask, but only sometimes, because sometimes those Dodgers bats just like go away. So we'll have to see what happens there. The Royals bats themselves have not been great lately. They've scored 3, 4, 5, 1, and 2 runs over the last few games, guys. Not looking amazing at the plate. We see Bobby Witt Jr. cooling off a little bit here. This team is still 5th in the majors in runs scored and 10th in the majors in on-base percentage. So, you know, nothing wrong with that. They are a much better home team than they are an away team, so that's a bit of a concern in this game. They're going to have to find a way to put up some runs here going up against the LA Dodgers, who come into this game fresh off of a Game 1 win. They're 43 and 28 on the season, handing the ball in this game to Yoshinobu Yamamoto, who is 6-2 this year with a 3.00 ERA, coming off of a dominant start there against the Yankees. He went 7 innings, gave up 2 hits against the Yankees, gave up no runs in that game, no home runs or anything like that, struck out 7 and walked 2, and he's been looking just devastatingly good over his last 2 starts. He did have a weird outing there against the Reds where he struggled, but it just seems like the Reds have the Reds have the Dodgers numbers somehow. It doesn't really make any sense to me, but it's happening. So what can you do about that? The Dodgers have had one of the best bullpens in the majors this season, guys. A 3.13 bullpen ERA is fantastic, so they don't have to feel too bad once they take Yamamoto there off of the mound. Their bullpen can definitely hold down the fort. The question is, where will the offense be for this game? Yeah, the Dodgers should have one of the best offenses in the majors on paper. They're 2nd in the majors in runs scored, 1st in the majors in on-base percentage, but they've been having some trouble scoring runs lately. They've scored 4, 1, 2, and 15 runs. They had that weird 15-run game against the Rangers there, but yeah, I mean, they scored some runs in their series against the Yankees. This is a hard offense to trust, and you guys all know why. I'm sure you've all been dealing with some weirdness for the Dodgers this season. So looking at the numbers in this game, guys, we see some pretty weird stuff out there. We got the Royals plus 176, the Dodgers minus 190. We see the Royals are only 15 and 16 on the road, and the Dodgers are 22 and 13 at home. We see both teams showing some trends towards the under, but they're not significant trends, and we're not too interested in the over-under in this game. This is a weird spot, guys, but I'm leaning towards the Royals plus 176. It seems like a little bit questionable of a dog. Can Lugo bounce back there from a couple of rough outings and have a good outing against the Dodgers? Seems like a bit of a big ask to me, but not impossible. I mean, this guy has been very, very good this season, so in general, I'm looking at the Royals plus 176. It seems like a good underdog spot. I think they definitely have a shot out here. It might be tough. I mean, they played a very close game in Game 1, so we'll have to see. Will this end up in the pinned comment? Seems like a little bit of a stretch, but you never know. It is a nice looking underdog spot, and those are always good to get in there. Last but not least, guys, we're looking at the Pittsburgh Pirates going on the road to take on the Colorado Rockies. The Pirates come into this game fresh off of a 5-2 win in Game 1 of this series. They're 33-36 on the year, handing the ball in this one to Jared Jones, who's 4-5 this season with a 3.27 ERA. He's coming off a serviceable start there against the Minnesota Twins. I mean, he gave up 2 earned runs over 5 innings on 6 hits, so not his best stuff. Maybe his best stuff was the game before that, back on the 4th, where he dominated the Dodgers. He went 6 innings, gave up 3 hits, no runs in that game. Just looked very, very good. That was a bounce back for him also, I mean, from a bad start there at Detroit. So seems like he might slightly prefer to be pitching at home, but he's also got some decent road starts mixed in out there. So we're not too worried about him pitching on the road here against the Colorado Rockies. The Pirates bullpen, I'm not going to lie, guys, it's a little bit of a concern. I mean, they're 18th in the majors with a 3.88 bullpen ERA. So, you know, not a terrible bullpen ERA, not a disaster, but definitely something to keep an eye on. The hitters for the Pirates haven't looked amazing lately, and they kind of haven't looked amazing this season in general, guys, as you well know, I am sure. They've scored 5, 3, 2, and 2 runs over their last few games, so not exactly hitting the cover off the ball. They're 21st in the majors in runs scored, 26th in the majors in slugging percentage. They're getting on base at a 300 clip, but they're only batting 229 as a squad. That is not great, so have our questions about their offense, but they're hitting in one of the most hitter-friendly parks in the majors, so that's something. They're taking on the Colorado Rockies, who are straight up not having a good time right now. They've lost 4 of their last 5 overall. They are 24-45 in the year. They're hitting the ball in this one to Ty Blatch, who's 2-4 this season with a 4.84 ERA, coming off of his 2nd straight game, giving up at least 8 hits and at least 4 earned runs. And that was in starts against the Cincinnati Reds and the St. Louis Cardinals, so not the hardest hitting opponents. We also see that the Rockies are only 2-3 over his last 5 starts, so not looking amazing out there. Ty Blatch, he's not having the best time. We also know that the Colorado Rockies bullpen is pretty terrible, and given the fact you have to pitch at Coors Field all the time, probably, you know, they have some built-in excuses there, but got to do a little bit better than that, you would hope. This offense has not been nearly as good as you would expect an offense that gets to hit at Coors Field half the time to be. I mean, they're 11th in the majors in team batting average, but only 20th in the majors in runs scored. Over the last few games, they've scored 2, 9, and 5 runs respectively. That 9-run game was in a 17-9 loss there to the Twins. So just not a ton of positive things to say about this offense. And looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we see the Pirates at -175, the Rockies at +154. We've got an over-under of 10.5 in this game. We see the Pirates are 17-19 on the road, which isn't necessarily a terrible road number. Colorado's only 13-16 at home. We see both teams showing slight trends towards the over. Am I really looking to bet an over 10.5 spot? I do not think that I am. So we're going to be leaning towards the Pirates in this game. It's a pretty expensive price at -175. Do we really have the guts to take the Pirates -1.5 in this spot? That seems a little bit tough. I mean, you're taking them at -1.5, you can get them at -115. I think I'd rather just save it and go ahead and not be greedy and take them -175. So that's what we're going to do in this game, guys. Pirates on the money line in this one. We'll see if it makes its way into the pinned comment. It's a pretty expensive play, but today's slate on the games where at least we have released numbers for has been a little bit sparse, it feels like. That's all the games we have for today, guys. Hit that like button for good luck on all of your bets and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Let me know in the comments any questions you have on today's slate. Thanks for watching. You can click the link in the description to check out stumpthespread.com, and we will see you guys tomorrow for more sports betting action.